Home rule is what gives cities local authority to make decisions on behalf of their citizens. If they're not prohibited from doing a certain project within their municipal responsibilities, if they're not prohibited in state law, then they've got the authority to make that decision for their citizens. And we're all about trying to protect home rule at the Capitol. We've seen some legislation in recent years that's preempted their authority. So we're trying to call attention to the importance of home rule.
Understanding the need to work with our federal and state colleagues and make sure that we understand what they need on the state level, but also make sure that they're understanding what the impacts of some of the laws that they pass and mandates that they send, how they affect us at the street level, where the rubber meets the road. And so it's just a lot of collaboration that we're asking for, but consideration that we raise an issue that is best administered at the local municipal level. Then we need to have serious consideration given to that so we can implement those policies, because there are a number of issues that I can think of that we work on for years sometimes and we're ready to implement. We've negotiated a way to do business with a particular company or entity, and then the state comes in and does something that's one size fits all. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times it doesn't.
At the local level, we must be able to protect and serve our citizens. So it's huge to be the rules and the voice be heard from the local level. Absolutely.
You've got where the rubber hits the road. You've got people who are on the ground in each one of these municipalities or each one of these towns, and it's very important for us to understand what's going on.
Home rule here is very important because we're the closest to the people. We're the closest to the constituents. They're going to come to us with problems, and for us to be able to answer that and control what goes on for ourselves.
There's no one that knows how to do a community or run a community better than the community itself, and big advocate for home rule and the fact that communities should be able to make decisions as to how best to use your tax dollars, or if indeed there's a need for an increase in taxes to make life better. So it's all about quality of life and infrastructure.
We need to raise funds for an infrastructure matter, whether it's a water tower or it's sewer lines or anything. It's very important because we understand what's going on and we have the opportunity to have our people vote on these things. And I think having to go to the legislature and ask for that on a regular basis and then come back again after 4 years or 3 years or 10 years and ask yet again for it makes it very difficult.
Infrastructure needs, that's kind of one of those eternal subjects that we're always going to have. Sometimes it's the roads and bridges, but we have a crumbling infrastructure with respect to water and sewer as well throughout the state. Most of the systems are aging and they're old, and so that's always a constant challenge for us, to make sure that we're providing the services we can and make sure people can get the services they need in a very reliable fashion.
I'm a firm believer there's a direct relationship with infrastructure and economic development. When you're trying to get a company to come in your town, you want to see what capacity you have regarding your sanitary sewer, what that particular company will land in your city. And so we have to begin to invest properly in infrastructure. We want to thank the legislature for passing that special in the special session infrastructure. And so in January of 2020, we look to see some of those internet sales trickle down to our communities where we can designate it to infrastructure and begin to fix potholes, begin to build our sanitary sewer systems, and put infrastructure as top of our list.
The infrastructure needs in all of our cities and towns are pretty terrific. The infrastructure in Greenwood is, our streets need repaving. We have several sewer lines or mini sewer lines that need lining. We do have a new wastewater treatment plant, so that's a huge check off of our list. But the money that we're going to hopefully get soon from the legislature is going to be huge to help us keep the maintenance going on in our cities and towns. So yes, it's huge. It's very, very important.
Our community is in dire need of roads, streets, water and sewer improvements. We work continuously patching potholes, but maintenance and upkeep, it's not the issue. We have potholes that you can connect the dots that have been repaired. We need street reconstruction.
As in many other mayors, our streets, we had old streets that some of them haven't been paved probably in about 15, 20 years. Some are unraveling, falling apart. And the finances to do a complete job is just not there locally. And definitely it matters to the citizens. As your city grows and improves, streets, sewer, water, all those things are very important for economic development and economic growth.
We still have clay pipes that have got to be replaced. We've still got galvanized pipes, so people have rusty water. So cities never stop needing to fix their infrastructure. That never ends.
If you can't get a trailer truck of material in because it can't cross a bridge, then you're limited that new industry into what they can bring in, or they have to go a detour that goes several hundred miles out and around. We had a situation in North Mississippi where 6 bridges were out, and instead of a farmer being able to bring his product 25 miles to the elevator, it was a 75-mile one-way trip. Water and sewer is a great need for infrastructure. If you don't have the ability to provide clean water, adequate water, and a proper supply of water to some of these industries. We've got an industry in Tunica that is a chemical manufacturing company, and they have to have water to make their product. Water is a carrier for it, and we have to be able to provide it to them. In the same way with the wastewater side of it, that's a big deal that you've got to be able to safely get rid of that wastewater, convert it back, and put clean water back out in the property.
We have a lot of crumbling roads, just like many of the cities in central Mississippi. My city is Byram. We're adjacent to Jackson. And just like Jackson, we have a lot of yazoo clay, which results in a lot of potholes. So we try really hard to, number one, keep those potholes filled. And each year we try to make sure that we pave as many roads as we can.
The infrastructure needs that we have in Terry probably are one of the most important issues that we have today. We are constantly struggling with maintaining our streets, our roadways, and invariably the water and sewer lines that have been there for so long continue to fail and cause more damage to the streets and the roadways, and it just seems like a never-ending struggle. We try to fix them as best we can, and oftentimes it just seems like it's a Band-Aid approach.
Water sewer system is way overdue, and we really need some assistance, some help, but the finances is not there. They said they have grant money, but it's hard to get grant money when then you want to have to put up a certain percentage of it, and your towns and your cities just don't have it. I know our city don't have it.
One of the major infrastructure projects that I've been working on for the past 3 years is actually a pedestrian dock for the city of Natchez. As you know, Natchez sits on the river. We're the oldest city on the Mississippi River, and we've got several cruise lines that need to dock in our city. We need an infrastructure grant in order to place a pedestrian dock in order to accommodate those cruise ships, because visitors coming to the state of Mississippi is important from an economic standpoint.
We've had to do everything on our own. Infrastructure is our most critical view, and right now, if I want something done, I have to raise my water rates or raise my taxes to get it done, so it's very problematic. But we spent $900,000 this past year just to avoid flooding of our junior high.
In our community, it's a small town, small municipality, 450 people. But even in a small town, infrastructure is very important. We have a lot of retired people that live in our community, so the tax situation is a lot different than in a lot of larger cities. So it's very important. And, we need all the help we can get economically, for the infrastructure problem. And I think it's statewide. It's not just small towns, it's large towns. It's a problem that we need to address.
One unfunded mandate that's causing financial problems for us, or at least a hurdle, is the increase in the city's portion of the PERS match for the employees. And so for me, I have 122 employees. So for me, just the incremental increase is going to be about $80,000 this year, which is probably almost one of my meals. The value of one of my meals.
I know that in the past, cities have been worried about MDEQ regulations coming down in regards to regulations with water and compliance with our lagoons and things. And It's unfortunate that when these things happen, the federal regulations come down and there's no money that we're being helped with to meet these requirements and these deadlines.